This is the story of a young man who had everything he needed to be happy and was miserable anyway, not because his life was bad, but because he could not stop measuring it against everyone else's, until an old fisherman by a river showed him something about a stone that finally set him free. But first, let me ask you something. When was the last time you opened your phone, saw someone else's life, and felt a little smaller? Be honest. Tell me in the comments. Like the video if you're ready. And let's begin. In a fast city where everyone seemed to be winning, there lived a young man named Adam. Adam was 26, and by any fair measure, his life was good. A steady job, a decent flat, friends who cared about him, his whole life ahead of him, and Adam was miserable. Not because of anything he lacked, but because of everything he saw. Every morning, before his feet even touched the floor, he reached for his phone. And the flood began. A friend had bought a house. Someone he barely knew had started a company. A stranger his age had built something huge by 24. And with every photo, a small voice grew louder. You are behind. You are slow. Everyone is passing you. He worked as hard as he could in a race he could never win, because the finish line was everyone else, and everyone else kept moving. He'd feel a flicker of pride, then see one post and the whole day would collapse. At night, he lay awake with a question that had quietly stolen all his joy. Why does everyone else's life look like more than mine? One evening, a close friend, someone who had started exactly where he had, was being celebrated. A big success, the kind of thing Adam had dreamed of for himself. He typed out congratulations. He meant it, and he didn't, both at once, because underneath the kind words was something cold he hated himself for feeling. Why him and not me? What is wrong with me? That night, Adam couldn't stay in his flat. He drove with no destination until the city gave way to countryside and stopped near an old bridge over a wide, slow river just as the sun was coming up. He stood at the railing and admitted the truth to the water. I have a good life, and I can't feel a single second of it because I'm too busy watching everybody else's. Below him, on the riverbank, an old man sat on an upturned bucket, a fishing line in the slow water, completely still, completely content, watching the river the way some people watch a fire. Adam made his way down the bank. He didn't mean to talk, but the old man spoke first, without turning around. You've got the look, he said. What look? The one that's always somewhere else. Never here, sit. The fish don't mind. Adam sat, and after a while it came out, the comparing, the phone, the friend, the feeling of being permanently, hopelessly behind. The old man nodded. How long have you been fishing this misery? Adam almost laughed. Years. My whole 20s. I've come to this river for 50 years, and it taught me the thing that took me half my life to learn. He gestured at the water. Look at the river. Really look. What do you see? Adam looked. A river. Water. It's moving. Every river runs its own course. This one has flowed to the sea for 10,000 years, and it has never once looked at another river and thought, that one is ahead of me. A river does not race. It simply moves at its own pace, and it always reaches the sea. He reached into the shallows and lifted out a smooth grey stone and held it in his open palm. You look at other people's lives, and you see the water rushing, shining, fast, and you think, I'm too slow. But you're seeing one photograph of the surface. He turned the stone over. This stone spent 1,000 years being tumbled in the dark before it became this smooth. You never saw the 1,000 years. You see the smooth stone today and think it was always that way. Adam stared at it, that friend you envy. You saw the moment he was celebrated. You did not see the nights he wanted to quit. Every overnight success is a stone, and you are comparing your 1,000 years of tumbling in the dark to somebody else's smooth surface in the light. You are comparing your inside to their outside. He pressed the stone into Adam's hand. And here is the part that will set you free. There is no race. You invented it. The people you compare yourself to are not your competitors. They are just other rivers running their own courses to their own seas. Your only task is to keep flowing, because a river that stops to measure itself against every other river is the one that never reaches the sea. So how do I stop? Adam asked. You don't turn off the comparing, you starve it. And there are 3 rules. Rule 1. Every morning, before you look at anyone else's life, before you touch that phone, you look at your own first. You name one thing you have and one thing you'll do today. You fill your own cup first because a full cup is much harder to poison. Rule 2. When the comparison comes anyway, and it will, you ask one question. Am I better than I was a year ago? Not better than him, not better than her, better than your own past self. That is the only race that is real, and the only one you can win. Rule 3. You give up the highlights. For 1 month, you stop watching the smooth stones. Less screen, more river, because you cannot run your own course while your eyes are fixed on everyone else's. He smiled and cast his line back out. Do this for a season, and come back and tell me what you catch. Adam kept the stone in his pocket. And the next morning, for the first time in years, he did not reach for his phone. He named one thing he had, a whole day. That's mine. And one thing he'd do. It was small. He did it anyway. The first 2 weeks were hard. The pull to scroll and measure was almost physical, but each time he caught himself, he felt the smooth stone in his pocket and remembered. 1,000 years of tumbling. You're seeing the surface. Around the 3rd week, something changed. Adam had a good day at work, and that evening, the good feeling didn't collapse because he never went looking for a photograph to measure it against. The joy was simply allowed to stay. He asked the second question too. Am I better than I was a year ago? And once he stopped drowning it out with everyone else's noise, the honest answer was yes. He'd been better all along. He just could never hear it over the roar of the comparison. And his work, freed from the weight of keeping up, quietly got better. Because for the first time, he was fully in his own life to do it. 6 months later, Adam finished something he was genuinely proud of. His own thing at his own pace, a project he'd have abandoned a year ago the first time he saw someone further ahead. When a friend said, "Man, you came out of nowhere," Adam laughed. He hadn't come out of nowhere. He'd been tumbling in the dark for years. He was a stone, and this was only the first day anyone noticed the smooth. But the real payoff wasn't the project. It was an ordinary Tuesday evening, when Adam realized he'd gone a whole day without once measuring his life against another human being's. And he had felt quietly and completely content. 2 years on, Adam still keeps that smooth grey stone on his desk. When a photo whispers you're behind, he picks it up and remembers. He measures his life against one person now, the man he was a year ago. It's the only race he's ever won, because it's the only one that was ever real. My friend, hear the thing that cost Adam his whole 20s to learn. You are not behind. You feel behind because you are comparing your inside, every doubt, every slow day, every 1,000 years of tumbling in the dark, to everyone else's outside, their highlight, their one shining photograph of the surface. It is not a fair fight, and it is stealing a good life you cannot even feel because your eyes are fixed on everyone's river but your own. So here is your challenge, the same one an old fisherman gave a lost young man on a riverbank. Step 1. Tomorrow morning, before you look at anyone else's life and before the phone, fill your own cup first. Name one thing you have. Name one thing you'll do. Step 2. When the comparison comes, and it will, replace the question. Not, am I ahead of them? But am I better than I was a year ago? That is the only race you can win. Step 3. For 1 month, starve the comparison. Less screen, more river. You cannot run your own course while your eyes are locked on everyone else's. I promise you this. The moment you stop racing everybody else is the moment you finally start moving. Because all the strength you were spending on keeping up comes home to your own quiet, unstoppable river. Adam wasn't slower than the people he envied. He simply couldn't see how far he'd come because he never once looked at his own water. So tell me in the comments, what is one thing you have right now that you've been too busy comparing to notice? Name it. Make it real. I'll be reading every single one. If this story reached you like the video, it helps this small channel more than you know. Share it with someone who feels like everyone is passing them by. And subscribe, because every week I bring you another story of an ordinary person who changed their life. Remember the fisherman's words, there's no race, you're just a river. Run your own course and you'll reach the sea.